And we're live. Welcome to the Music for Humans podcast. My guest today is the bassist influencer Leyla Sneary. Hey Leyla, how you doing today?
Hi Louis, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been pretty amazing to follow you for the past few weeks since I've met you. You recently got into, pushing your career further, more as professionally through music. It would be great to know a little bit what inspired you to push this further.
Yeah, so for me, my Instagram kind of started, it was more of a hobby than anything else because I was doing an English degree at the time and I've only recently graduated. I graduated in June. After finishing that degree, it was in English literature, so it wasn't related to music or anything like that. I finished the degree and kind of realized that there was nothing job-wise in there that I was passionate about. And in the 2 years that I've been studying at uni, I was posting on Instagram and have been lucky enough to gain a following. So when it came to realizing there was no passion in the degree, I kind of then took that as an opportunity to do music full time, seeing as I was able to build the following. I couldn't give up the opportunity. I had to go for it. I couldn't sit and think what if, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what made you go study literature in the first place?
I've always loved reading, and my favorite thing about reading was writing about the books afterwards. I have a background in performing arts as well, and ironically, it's the same thing with performing arts and music. I didn't want to, as horrible as it is to say, I didn't want to commit to the industry because it is such a, you don't know what you're getting. So I kind of had my English qualification as a side. You know, if this doesn't work out, here's English. It was another thing I was passionate about at the time, and for me, logically, it made sense to have a backup.
Yeah.
And it was something I was interested as well in at the time. So for me, it just made sense to go on and do an English degree. But obviously, my interests and my passions and everything has changed in those years since.
That's amazing. Do you find any, because your degree in literature and it's kind of like around the art of writing and art of words. It's another form of pretty deep form of expression. Do you feel any similarities between this and actually playing music or expressing yourself through music?
Yeah, it's funny you say that actually. I've always been like a massively creative person and just wanting to express myself creatively. And English literature, you get to do that through writing. And a lot of it is expression and interpretation. And it's the same and it translates into music. You know, I've not really made that connection until you said it, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool because even the way you analyze like a text and what it means for you and then write about it, I was kind of like doing the same thing when I studied classical music in college with the music itself. I really loved to read about the music composer, understand their life, what they were going through when they, composed that music and all this. And it made me feel even more the music when I was playing it and all this. And I kind of feel like there's definitely a very interesting connection between those two.
Yeah, definitely. It's all transferable.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's awesome, actually. And do you feel like sometimes you kind of like analyze music a little bit the same way you would analyze a text?
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about it, but now that you say it, I think I definitely do. It's splitting things into sections and kind of working out what brings out the best of things where and what to highlight and what not to highlight. A lot of times when you're analysing books, there's things that are significant and things that aren't. So it's the same when you're looking at it from a creative perspective. If I'm writing a line over a song, it's like, what is substantial here that I can bring out and what isn't?
Since we're talking about, analyzing certain things and putting more attention in certain text and things like this, what is your process when you pick a song and on Instagram or on social media, it's always like such a short amount of time. So you play just like a very short part of a song, but you choose like this part because it's your favorite part. Like, what is your creative process when you make your videos?
So for me, it's always been really important to keep my passion for the instrument is to learn songs that I genuinely love and like listening to. So every song that I choose comes from, it might be a Spotify playlist that's like been specifically tailored to me and my music interests. So every song that I do choose is relevant to, things that I genuinely love to listen to. And when it comes to picking the section of the song, I guess it's the same with figuring out what part of the song can I do the most with, what part of the song makes the most sense with the specific time frame that I've got. And a lot of the times it is me just I'll play the whole song and experiment playing throughout that whole song, and then pick the section where I feel like I've got the most freedom, or the section that makes the most sense. Sometimes it'll be a chorus section. To be fair, a lot of times it is verse sections, because you get way more freedom in that than anywhere else. But it definitely depends on the song, and how I approach it just depends.
Oh, that's amazing. How do you record yourself? Do you have like a favorite DAW, and do you have like what kind of gear do you have? I see all your guitars and bass there.
Yeah, so my exclusively is my DAW is Logic Pro X.
Nice.
That's because I've not experienced or like tried to do any of the other ones. It's always just been Logic Pro X. I think actually it came in a package with what I used to edit on, which is Final Cut Pro. So they just came hand in hand, and they made sense for me. So that's kind of how I did it. When it comes to recording video, thankfully my phone has great video quality, so it's more convenient to just have my little iPhone 13 Pro records the video for me, and then I'll plug my bass into my interface, and then my interface obviously straight into Logic Pro X, and do it that way. A lot of people do ask me if I use amps, and I don't have the space in my room for any amps, so I don't own any, so everything goes through my interface.
Oh, cool. All right,
Yeah,
that's very interesting. How do you get your tone? Do you have like any plugins of like bass amp or something like this, or is it just like straight the bass sound in Logic Pro and that's it?
a lot of the times it is just raw bass. Sometimes I'll experiment with plugins. That's a question I get a lot on my Instagram as well. People are very curious about that, and yeah, no, a lot of times it is just raw bass. If I feel like it's not matching the song, I'll experiment with the plugins, see if I can make it work. But yeah, a lot of times it's just straight what the bass sounds like.
Wow, that's really cool. What bass do you use? Because your tone is like really nice, so I'm
Oh,
curious.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have quite a few that I use. I have my Marcus Miller V5, which is V7, sorry, is my 5 string, and I use that quite a lot. But then my other ones are exclusively precision basses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it's Precision Player. Yeah, I think that's
Cool.
what it is, and that's the
All
one
right.
that's the white bass that I play a lot. And
Nice. Amazing. And what's like your latest project? What have you been like putting most of your energy on lately?
yeah, so it's really exciting actually. I'm working on a few sponsorship developments on my Instagram, which is exciting, and there's things to come with that. A Patreon page as well. I've been looking to launch. I'm really taking my time with that though, because I don't want to just push it out there, and people are paying money, so I want to create something of value on there first before I kind of advertise that properly. So I've got a few videos that I want to film and get up on there first. And obviously I have a teacher profile launched with Music for Humans now, and
Yeah,
that is
that's
also
amazing.
that is also something that I want a lot of my time to go into.
Through all those projects you're doing, since it's a lot of recording and all this, do you find yourself like working on most of your project on your own, or do you work with other people?
Yeah, right now a lot of it, if not everything, is independent. So I'm doing a lot of things on my own, which does get really hard because you're your own boss and in charge of your own schedule, and you've got this whole list of things that solely you are in charge of and you have to do. So yeah, it does get overwhelming. It does.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's all exciting, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I can relate a lot to this because when I studied classical violin in college, I my goal me was at first was really to become a orchestra player. I wanted to play in a symphony orchestra, and I really focused my energy on this for a while. And after playing, with the my university symphony orchestra for like 3 years, like around the end of my bachelor, I realized that I didn't like it that much. Like especially like the practicing. I love playing
Mm.
in the orchestra, but all the work you have to do when you're on your own, practicing like the little parts of orchestra in your bedroom for like 8 hours every day. I didn't like it that much, so I started like looking elsewhere, and I met some people that were playing with different kind of shows like Cirque du Soleil and like different productions. And finally, I decided that I wanted to try something else. So I started working on a project where like I basically build an entire show that instead of a singer, it would be me on the violin.
Oh
And then
wow.
I wrote the chart for. I had like a mini big band, so I wrote the chart for like I had like saxophone, trumpet, trombone, and then I had like a little string quartet, pianist, bass, guitar, and drums. And then I made like arrangement for like that mini big band for about like an hour of music. And then I rented a venue and I recorded
Wow.
everything and we filmed everything. And I organized like the whole thing all by myself. It took me like over a year to organize the whole thing. And we filmed everything. And after with this, I started like applying in different kind of shows. And finally I got lucky and I left on tour and I got a job thanks to all that work. But during that year, it was like I was doing everything by myself. And then once everything was ready, I started like calling musicians and to organize the concert and all this. But yeah, you spend so much time alone, like working on
Yeah.
this, and sometimes you're wondering, like, why am I even doing all this? Like, is this
Yeah.
gonna be worth it in the end? So, yeah, it's so much work. But then, once it's time to gather all the people together, this is when I felt that like all that work started to shine because it was so fun. Like, it was such a great
Yeah.
experience. And this it's kind of like leads me to my next question for you, that like I was wondering if like working in collaboration and sharing ideas, or even like having like other musicians listening to what you're doing, do you find it's like an important part in your creative process, like if it helps you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I do think working in collaboration and finding inspiration from other people is definitely essential in development. As a self-taught musician, I very much know you are limited by how much you can do and learn on your own. Um, just taking inspiration and learning from other people, being in an environment where you can pick things up from other people is truly is invaluable. There's only so much me as one person, only so much progress I can make just on my own.
Yeah, you can always watch a bunch of videos on YouTube and things like this. Like now,
Yeah,
with internet, you can learn a lot on your own. But yeah, sometimes just to have like a different set of ears that are not
yeah.
working with you on on like whatever you're doing can really help. Um, but yeah, and do you feel like those connections through social media? Do you feel like you can make those kinds of connections?
Yeah, right now, most of my inspirational process is social media based. I am actually trying to work on gathering a few musicians, maybe making or joining a band in my area, which isn't something I'm doing right now, but would really love to work on. But yeah, right now, all the inspiration, all my contacts come from social media. I mean, social media can be an incredible place for that. It
Yeah.
really can. If you're not someone who has the contacts or the experience, having a social media profile and being able to build that presence really can do a lot of things for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's almost essential today.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yes.
some people it
Yeah.
isn't. I know quite a few musicians in the industry now who like haven't put anything really into their social media but are still like touring with like top musicians. So it's not essential for everyone, but I think nowadays it is only going to help you and it is going to benefit you and your career. So it is fairly important now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned this because I met, well, it's going to be a few months ago now, with Matt Hogan. He's a guitar player, and his social medias, he just started posting a few videos on TikTok, but he toured with like Miley Cyrus and
Yeah,
Lady Gaga. He played with Bruce Springsteen, and he doesn't have anything almost on social media, like just a few pictures. And
yeah,
like now he's posting more videos. But yeah, I was really surprised. I was like, what? Because now he's mostly like doing studio work. He's based in New York,
yeah,
and I was thinking when he was on tour, with all these super famous artists, he could have take advantage of this and post a
yeah.
bunch of stuff, and probably it would have been great. But I was the same when I was on tour. I never posted anything. At first, I was like super excited, would post a bunch of things, and eventually I just entirely stopped. And just like when I started Music for Humans, then I started understanding again, like, oh yeah, actually social media is
How
is
important it
great.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And how's the music scene in your area? Is there like a lot of like music venues and things to do?
Yeah. So I live near Birmingham, which is a really big city in the UK. Not as big as London, obviously. And London's quite far from me, but Birmingham do have some really incredible venues, music venues that I'm yet to check out and get involved with. But yeah, the music scene here it is great. I mean, I've not experienced the music scene in London, but I'd say it's second best.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. And do you go see concerts often?
Yeah, I do. I think the most recent one, I went to see Simple Minds with my dad, um,
Nice.
because he was supposed to go with his brother, but his brother couldn't make it. So I was like, I'll go. I love
Yeah,
concerts. Yeah, I don't care
nice.
who's playing. Like, let me just experience being there and watching them play their instruments. Like, it really doesn't matter to me what genre it is. I just want to be there to like see and take it in.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then I think I went to see Years and Years with my brother. That was quite recent as well. So I try to go as much as I can, and like I said, doesn't matter what the genre is. I want to be there.
Yeah. Ah, that's awesome. And we were talking a little bit about this before we started recording
Hmm.
about your multicultural background, which is very interesting. Um, I like I was telling you, I have a few students that like come from like a lot of different cultures, and I've been learning a lot of different music from them because they request like to learn certain style of music and things like this,
Yeah.
and I was wondering if you have any inspiration that comes from your own cultural background into like your playing, or if there's artists that you admire.
Yeah, well, music is and always has been a massive part of Indian culture. Like, go to an Indian wedding and the music is crazy. DJ is probably the most important part of an Indian wedding. And if your DJ isn't good at your wedding, people will talk about it. Like, music is a massive, massive part of that culture. So I was brought up on the importance of music. Funnily, my auntie is really into R&B, funk, and soul. So I was brought up on things like that that aren't necessarily directly related to Indian culture, but music like that was also something that we, as Indian people, really appreciated. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't originate with us, but it's something that we listen to a lot, and even now is something that we listen to a lot. So I was, listening to artists like Chic and Earth, Wind and Fire, and they aren't from Indian backgrounds at all, but like
Yeah.
the music really did like cross in between the two.
That's cool. Like you said, like music is such a integral part of the Indian culture. I met
Mm,
with, we have a tabla teacher at Music for Humans, and I didn't know much about the Indian music and the process of learning music in India before I met with him. And I thought it was so interesting because he explained to me a little bit how his music education was when he lived in India, and it's like a very spiritual kind of like process, and he would go like to the temple where like his teacher would teach him tabla, and like it's all like it's almost like religious, like the way they
Yeah.
learn music, it's so connected with like your inner feelings and all this. And I thought it was the most interesting thing. And this guy studied like, also I didn't know that like the Indian music, it's like the way they teach it and the language and the way they write it, it's completely different than like the Western way of writing music. And like the scales and like first you have to learn how to sing and all the syllables and all like
Yeah.
those different rhythms, and then after this you learn how to play it on your instrument and all this. And this guy, he then went to study in Berkeley University, and now
Wow.
he's mixing, like he studied jazz and flamenco music, and now he does like a mix of everything he learned in India and like all what he learned in Berkeley. And I thought it was like the most interesting thing,
Wow.
chat with that guy. Yeah, and made me want to learn more and more. And I have one of my violin students. She's from India, and when she was a kid, she spent, I think, like the first 10 years of her life in India, and she was taking a singing lesson at the temple. And then she started telling me more about it, and I've been trying to learn more and more about it because I think it's pretty amazing. Because I'm always very curious to learn more about what I don't know.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel
For us, like music is a form of religious expression as well. Like it's very tied, like in our temples and gurdwaras, like you have obviously the people playing tabla and singing, and it's like it's a massive thing, and the link between expressing yourself religiously and musically is, yeah.
but I feel that's kind of like the way it should be, Yeah, like sometime I feel in the West we kind of like over commercialized music, and it became kind of like a good, so much that it's so much kind of like focused around the business itself that sometimes we
Yeah.
kind of forget like the real essence of music, that it's really like expressing yourself like to like the deepest level, saying things that you cannot say with
Yeah.
words. Yeah,
No, I totally agree with you. I agree.
that's awesome. And another kind of like, parallel with you studying like the English language and then music. What do you feel for you is like the best way of like expressing yourself? Do you feel like through words or through music that like you can express the best like your emotions and feelings?
You know what? Super ironically, even though I did do an English literature degree, I feel like at times I can be really bad with expressing myself through words, especially verbally. I think writing it down, I think, is less of an issue. But like sometimes with words, it's really difficult for me. So it's great with music that I don't have to say anything. I don't
Yeah.
have to say anything. I can just do, and the emotion can like come out of me, and people can read that in the video. Like I don't really have to say anything. So yeah, I think I probably express myself best and the most through just playing bass and not thinking too much about what my face is doing, or like my expressions, just like being in it and feeling it. And yeah.
Yeah. It's all natural coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, don't stop it, just let it go.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's kind of like why I really fell in love with playing music. I feel it really happened when I was a teenager. I was having a really hard time actually to express myself, and I had a hard time in school, with my teachers. I was always getting in trouble, and for some reason, every time I would get kind of like overwhelmed with emotions, I just couldn't find the right way to say things, with without kind of like feeling like nothing made sense anymore.
Yeah.
So then when I started playing violin, I felt like, well, violin, I can really just say everything, and let it out, and people find it beautiful, even if I'm like screaming, like, through my violin. Like, people don't know; they're just like, "Wow, it's so nice," So,
Oh, that's
so
so funny. Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's great. I also really struggle at the best of times to express myself with words. So it's nice to have music to just not really have to say anything.
What would be like the most like significant impact music has had on your life?
Yeah, well, similar to you, I think in general it's made me just a more well-rounded person. But I think the most substantial change for me, because I'm normally naturally quite an anxious and introverted person, and playing music, and especially with my Instagram, it's kind of forced me to challenge my anxious thoughts. Like before, I used to not say yes to opportunities because I'd just be so anxious about everything. But now I'm like, well, this is an opportunity and I'm going to say yes to it because you don't know what you could get out of this. So music really has encouraged me to start saying yes to things, and just my confidence. I mean, that's still something every day that I'm battling with, and I feel like a lot of people do, but my confidence level while playing music has really gone up, and I think that's the most substantial change for me because it helps me not only in my professional life with music and just in my personal life. I'm a much more confident person. I know what I bring to the table. I know that, I have things to say, and that, I am someone that brings value. So I think without music, I don't think I would have realized the extent of that, and I'd still be struggling a little bit. But yeah,
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, anxiety can be like, crazy. Like sometimes it
yeah,
can literally like affect you like physically. I'm also a super anxious person. I've had quite a lot of trouble with this, especially in my early stage of learning music. Playing like recitals and all this, like
yeah,
it would get me like so stressed out. And you feel like when you walk on stage and you start having like this crazy anxiety, almost like I don't. You probably everyone has had those dreams, but like like
hmm,
those dreams when like you go to school or you go in like a public place and then you realize you're naked in front of everyone and
yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
what's going on? Like, where are all my clothes? Like that's like that exact same feeling I would have like when walking on stage, and I would start shaking and all this.
yeah,
That was one of my main goals in life, was to like overcome that crazy anxiety. But like you said though, it's like I feel it's a kind of like a battle that you keep all your life, but music give you, it's kind of like a tool that helps you kind of like work it. It's like a workout basically.
it
You
is.
keep working
Yeah.
on this.
Every day you've got to challenge the anxiety, and little by little it gets easier. I'm like not as anxious as I was a year ago. If you were to tell me I'd be sat on a podcast with you a year ago today, I wouldn't believe you at all. I'd be like, I'm way too anxious to do that. With me, it's difficult because once I'm in the moment and I'm doing it, I'm fine.
Mm,
It's the leading up to things
okay.
that like I start to get really anxious about, and it can be like give you actual physical symptoms, and that was
Mm,
something that I struggled with in the past as well. Like, it it wouldn't even have to be triggered per se, but like I would just be feeling literally sick. That's how like
yeah.
bad my anxiety was getting. But now, obviously, with music and my Instagram, it really has changed my life, and it's getting easier. But it is an everyday battle. It is something you have to continuously challenge.
Yeah, yeah, this is amazing though. Like I'm happy to hear that music is helping you you too. Cause yeah, just getting outside of your comfort zone and
Yeah,
pushing it just a little bit further every time, and then at the end, you realize, you look back and you're like, whoa, I did all this, like, and I was able to like overcome this and this situation that like before I would have never had thought like I could do this. Like, yeah, it definitely boosts your confidence and make you feel more and more comfortable to like take on like bigger challenges.
yeah, yeah. It's the little steps for the big results in the end.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. Have a pretty interesting question for you. If you could start a music project with any artist in the world, who would it be and
Oh,
why?
I love this question. I think I think I have a top two, but one definitely wins it. Um, Nile Rodgers from Chic is one. because I've loved sheep literally my entire life, and even today, Nile Rodgers, like he's working with like the top pop artists in the industry. I just think he's incredible. But I think the one that wins it, and I know you're a fan of Wolfpack too, Corey Wong.
Oh,
I think Corey
nice.
Wong is incredible. That'd be so cool. Like I think he worked on something with Victor Wooten, I think, and there was a behind the scenes video of him instructing. I think it was the sax players, and I watched that video like 5 times, just in awe of how he was like telling them what to do and how he was directing this music video. I was like, wow, Corey Wong would just be a great person to work with.
Oh yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Actually, I've been listening to a lot of Cory Wong lately. I don't. Have you listened to his solo project too?
I don't think so. I listened to the one with Victor Wooten, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I listened to that one. Um, Not lately. Actually, I started on guitar. So I started learning guitar when I was 13. And when we first went into lockdown, this was before I picked up the bass. I really got into learning the guitar and doing more. And then the minute I decided to buy a bass, like all of my intention went on to bass. It was just like bass, 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 and doing all of that. So recently I haven't, but I do really want to get back into that um, and do more, and I will.
That's cool. Yeah, guitar is an amazing instrument too. When you started guitar, did you take lessons?
No. So the way this, I was in school at the time, and we have like music lessons that are part of the curriculum. So obviously you have to do them; they're a part of the school. And at that time we were going, so we'd switch from piano, because that's the first thing you learn in school, to guitar. We were having a few guitar lessons, and my birthday was coming up, and I was like, okay, I want to get my own guitar, and I want to learn to play guitar. So I did that, and then we had an external guitar teacher come in, and I had quite a few lessons with him. They were on a Friday. But in these guitar lessons, they just turned into jam sessions. It wasn't actually
Oh,
like
cool.
a. It's funny because he'd get his little sheet out and a chart and write out the theory that I needed to learn, the scale that I needed to learn for that week, and then he'd give it to me, and I'd take it home and would have had to learn it. I didn't, and but then the lesson just turned into a jam session, and every Friday it was like less of a lesson and more of a let's just jam. Let's just play. I taught myself like the campfire chords, you're like A minor, your G, and your F, and
Yeah,
we were just for that whole lesson just jamming. So yes and no, they were kind of lessons, but not
but not
just jams.
really.
No.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally understand. Yeah, cause I was curious because I've been like I used to teach a long time ago, like before, like when I just finished high school. Actually, I started teaching. I was like 17, and then I thought through like all the time I was in college, and then after this, I left on tour for like 7 years. I stopped like teaching as a job, and then I just started teaching again like 3 years ago, about like yeah, like 2.5 years ago.
Oh
And
wow.
there's some of my students that I feel like I see so much potential in them,
Mm.
but like you were saying, like I give them music sheet and they never learn them, and then they come back the next week, and then I'm always curious because I when I started learning the violin, it was kind of like the same thing for me until I was like 18, when I was like, okay, now I really want to go to college. I started practicing a lot right away, and then I got into college like a year later. But then um, but then I'm always curious of like what is kind of like that little moment that you're like, okay, yeah, now I really want to practice my instrument, like because there's some families that the parents will like force the kid to practice a lot, and then them. I mean, I see a lot of progress, but I also see that they kind of like get sick of it after a little while.
Yeah, I think you have to want to learn. And at that time, it wasn't that I didn't want to learn, it was that my goals were different to what
Mm,
my guitar teacher's goals were. Because he's obviously a professional musician and he knows what you need to know to be a good guitar player. But while I was in those lessons, me at 13 years old, all I wanted to do was to just know how to play. So for me, my priority wasn't, oh, let's talk about theory and scales, let's get all that sorted. because I wasn't thinking about a music career possibly in the future. My immediate want was I want to learn how to play, and that learning theory just wasn't a part of that. I think it's only until your goals switch and you realize actually I want to become a better player, and the only way to do that is to learn. And obviously it has to be the student's switch. They have to know what their goals are and how to get there. Otherwise, they're just not going to want to retain or take in the information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, that's been kind of like my technique with most of my students is to try to understand, what they like about music and all this, and really push in that little thing until they have that little click, and then they start getting a little bit more interested about, oh, you know what, maybe I want to learn more like that kind of skill, or like, okay, what that technique and all this. It's been working out great, but there's some students that I'm like, if you practice like like an hour every day, you would be like so good. But then like it's so hard like to convince like I don't know, like 13, 14-year-old to practice an hour every day. So.
Yeah, it's the subtle encouragement. You've got to kind of tell them, look, if you want to be a great player, you're gonna have to put some time into it. But at the end of the day, they're gonna do what they want to do. But
exactly,
it's how you communicate how they become a better player if they do that, and how well you communicate that, and then hopefully it'll be received.
Yeah. And if you could share like one thing that like kind of like really inspired you to, one thing that happened when one day you were playing your instrument and you realized one thing, you started feeling like something, like you were like, whoa, this is really for me, like.
I think one of my moments, I know we keep talking about Wolfpack, but I was trying to learn it. It was quite early on in my playing, I think. I was trying to learn the line for Deantown.
Oh, nice.
And I'd started, it's a great song. I'd started it, and I couldn't get it down. I'd like slowed the track really, really slow. I was just having a really hard time with it. And then I came back to it. I think it must have been a month or two later. And then all of a sudden, I was able to play it. Like I was on time, like I was hitting the right notes. And to me, I was like, oh my goodness, like I didn't know I was capable of this. And sometimes it is literally just being okay with taking a break. Like you can't be good at everything straight away. And some things are going to be really difficult to play, and that's just the fact of the matter. But getting Deantown down, that's funny. Yeah, that was just crazy to me, because one month I was really, really struggling, and then I came back to it the next, and it must have been a mindset or an attitude change, because that determines your playing as well, not just ability, but it's like how you're feeling emotionally as well. But yeah, that was one moment for me. And my first slap song, I didn't realize what skills I had. Since learning that first slap song, I was like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. It was a Red Hot Chili Peppers song, and I filmed that cover, and I was like, hold on, this is the first time I've ever done a slap song. I did not know I was capable of that, and it was crazy. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, it's like that super rewarding feeling that like you impress yourself. You're like, wow, I can actually do this. This is so amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was great. Thank you so much for
really nice.
Like sharing everything about yourself and your your experience about music. It's been really great talking with you. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. It's been really nice.